Sure.
Okay. Hi, everyone. What's that? Yep.
Share.
I need to. There we go.
Share your screen.
Yeah. Let me that. There we go. How do I hide that? Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to hide stuff. I'm going to talk to you guys about, or show you. Yesterday, actually, I can go back a few slides. That was the scary slide. Yesterday, we were talking about in the session about what does it mean in convergence when we say that the innovation studio and innovation suite level level of the platform, I would say, is now merged with Remedy. This is, again, my simplified view of kind of what that looks like. And I showed how you could take an Innovation Studio app over on the right here and in a way rebuild the UI of something that could look into the forms in AR system below and gotta be a way to hide this. There we go. Hide foot. Okay. And now what I want to show you is another kind of interoperability capability, not just that the IS layer can see down into AR forms and do things like bind a view or modify forms in a process, but also how you can use an AR system object to access something in innovations that was built in Innovation Studio. So the demo I'm going to show here is this just basically a visual of what I'm going to show you, what I built. This is actually from a request that came to the team when we first started building the convergence from our own internal help desk team. They wanted to be able to build or create an on-call group and then be able to send and for specific tickets, be able to send a text message to people in an on-call group to be able to respond immediately to a high priority ticket. So the stuff, most of this isn't new, right? A new incident gets created. That new incident would get assigned to either an on-call group or an agent based on the priority of that ticket. And then normally that's the end of it, right? It gets assigned to somebody and that somebody picks it up through the rules that you've set up in your assignment engine, right? But what we want to do is bypass that assignment engine and actually on the bottom is what's new that I'm going to show you. When that incident is assigned to an on-call group, I want to create a filter, or have a filter that's created that will call a process that's built in Innovation Studio. And that Innovation Studio process sends a notification to agents in the group that a new ticket was created, so the agents in the group can respond to that ticket and assign that ticket. And then so basically I have this. Here's Innovation Studio here. And in Innovation Studio, I have a application. And in here, I have 4 processes. The 4 processes, 2 of them are about a new incident that was just created, and 2 of them are about when an incident is assigned. So the first, let's go to created, because that'll be the first one we fire. What we want to do here in this process is that we're passed in the process, we're passed in an incident ID. This is just a plain input value. But from that ID, we want to use a get record action to fetch the actual incident. So and this is similar to what I was showing yesterday. Process can now see into AR system forms. So this is basically yesterday I was showing you, CTM people, right, and CTM support group, and how you could access this. This is an HPD help desk. Looks like an HPD help desk record, but it's a form down in AR system. So the process can see that, and I can say, look up an HPD help desk record from the ID that was passed in, the process input variable incident ID that was passed in. So that's the first step. Look up the record, look up the incident. Second step is do a get records by query. And I want to now, from that resulting support group, or sorry, from that resulting let's see, group association fields. What am I doing? Get agents in support group. Oh, I have to look up, there's that support group association again. That's the CTM support group association table. That's a association form. So I can see all the agents in that support group. What I'm doing here is I'm taking the assigned support group ID to the help desk record. And I'm saying, look up all the people from the support group association table. It's a form that match the support group ID of the record that I found. Does that make sense?
So you're getting a pick list, or you're picking one for them of the assignees in the group?
I'm finding all the agents that are assigned to that group.
Okay.
I'm basically using this get records by query to say, find me all the agents that are assigned to the support group that is the assigned to
notify. It's everybody you need to notify.
Everybody I need to notify.
Yep. I got it.
Yep. And then I'm going to call the other process that's part of this, which I'll show you what it does. And I'm going to pass in, this is a multi-instance loop. So it's going through the whole list of agents. That's what a multi-instance loop says, is keep calling this multiple times until you exhaust the list of agents, and send in the detailed description, the incident ID, the incident number, the agent's remedy login ID, and the description of the incident. I'm using those to formulate the text that I'm going to send. So I don't have to pull them apart later on. I'm just going to pass them all in. Otherwise, I would have to pass in the record ID, have the next process look up the help desk record again, which is too expensive. I already looked up that information. I'm just going to pass in there all the information I need to form the text. Okay. So that gets called once. And then this one is what it calls. This gets called multiple times, once per each agent that it finds. And the inputs I just mentioned are those: the title of the incident, the description of the incident ID, incident number, and the agent's remedy login ID. I need that agent's remedy login ID so that I can look up the agent. So here, this is the CTM people form. CTM people, and I'm saying, with that remedy login ID, find me the people form of that agent. And I need that because I want to know their phone number, their mobile number, so I can send them a text. So this decision here says, if that agent has a phone number, if it's not equal null, then send them a text message. Otherwise, send an alert that, oh, that agent doesn't have a phone number, a mobile number, so I can't send them. Presumably what I would do is, and what I've done in the past is now maybe send an email or something like that. Send some alternate, and you can go through if they don't have an email, and then how do you contact them? You can set up a bunch of alternate rules here to notify that agent. But in this demo, I'm guaranteed I'm going to have a phone number because I've got it all set up to work. I've got my mobile phone here. So I'll get a text message. And this is a custom built, actually Laurent built this. This is an integration with Twilio to send that he gave me in a bundle. And so that's another cool thing about, right, the Innovation Studio here is that you can build these custom actions, you annotate them, and they show up in the process designer as actions that you can take that the server handles. So the inputs to send Twilio message is the number and the message. So I checked to make sure that the agent that was passed in has a mobile phone number. So I need to send it to the agent's mobile phone number. And here's the message. The message is, hey agent, there was a new high impact incident. Here's the incident number. And somebody in your group needs to pick it up. Here's the URL to click on to go assign it to yourself. And then that's why I needed the incident idea, so I could formulate this. This is a PWA URL for incident PV form to be able to update the incident. So pretty straightforward. And I'm not going to go through the details of the assigned because it's essentially exactly the same thing, except for I needed a separate process for the other filter in order to just send a notification that it was assigned, right? First step is somebody, hey, there's a new ticket. Somebody needs to pick it up. Once it gets assigned, I send another notification out that says, oh, okay, now it's been assigned and here's who it was assigned to. So the rest of you don't have to go and respond to it anymore.
Is there a way to send a link there so that they can simply click on something in that text message that will automatically go back to remedy?
Well,
without having
to go to the, possibly.
Kind of like how you approve a change request.
Yeah.
Right? You just click approve and it goes back and does it.
There's probably a URL that I could have generated for automatic assign to me. But I did it this way.
Sure.
Okay, so let's take a look at that. Actually, before I do that, let's take a look at Dev Studio. Here's the instance that I have is actually in our SaaS. It's a demo environment in our SaaS in the VMC cloud. And I've set up on my machine Kazing so that I can access that environment directly with Dev Studio. And this is what you'll be able to do as well in the Converge server. You'll be able to access the either your on-prem instance, if you have an on-prem instance, and you will know how to set that up. But for our SaaS environments, you can also access them through using Kazing. And then you can, once you have Kazing set up and you have a tunnel, then you can access the environment with Dev Studio. So these are the two filters I created. And this is the on create. So the rule is, the qualification is the assigned group has to be on call. And it's, where's the create part of it?
goes on submit right there under execution option.
Oh, yeah. Yep. So when submitted and the assigned group is on call, then run the process. So this is how our system can see the, internally we call it the RX layer, which is the innovation suite layer. And we're saying this is the ID of the process, or this is the ID of the process.
Where'd you get that ID from?
My wife, don't call me. Yeah, here, I'll show you. It's right there. I can see it in the JSON too. Right there. I know this is a little bit kludgy to have to go in and cut and paste the ID in. We're working on making that easier with something like, you know, being able to see the actual processes in Dev Studio, possibly, or even option I like would be able to actually go into a business rule and set up a business rule that says when HPD help desk incident is created, then fire this. So it'd be nicer, I think, cleaner to do it within IS, but we haven't built that yet. And so right now, the way to do it is with this, knowing the ID.
So why would I do this instead of just building that same workflow out in Developer Studio?
You could do either one, but I'm showing how you could actually build a process in Innovation Studio and then trigger it from a filter in the AR system.
You might have an element or something like you just got that Twilio text thing that's already set up. Then you wouldn't have to code that whole piece so that it would already be it.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have that in Dev Studio.
Right.
You'd have to code that whole piece to be able to send a notification that way. He's got that Twilio connection.
And also, here's the input ID here. And you can do multiple IDs, comma separated, comma, next ID equals, and you can pass it in some other attribute if you want to. Right here, I'm just passing the record ID of the HPD help desk.
So this is only available in the merge platform. It's not
Yes.
available like in somebody that's got an on-prem and that's trying to use Helix Innovation Studio. It only works on a merge platform.
Yes.
Off-prem or
Yeah. This is 21.3 that I'm running. And so that's it. So and the modify is the same thing, except for the rule is on modification, but it essentially does the same thing. It says, you know, as long as the also I do one more qualification, which is make sure that it's assigned, right? If it was modified, but then it still didn't get assigned, I don't want to send that note. I only want to send it if it was the status was set to assigned and the assignee login ID was not null. So a person was assigned to it. And then the group was on call. Okay, does that all make sense? You want to see it working?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this user, Paul Bunyan, in my demo environment, can create, actually, let me set this up. That way people here can see it. There we go. Oh, my dentist appointment. My wife's text, sorry. I make hot sauce and she's asking how much apple cider vinegar I need to make hot sauce. Okay. Let's create a new incident. So I'm Paul Bunyan. I'm the creator of the incident. It's for me. Summary is complete system outage today. I can't show the demo. Okay, I'm going to say it is extensive, it's critical, and Tramco is the company. And then this is where I want to select that on-call group. Actually, I'm doing it manually because I don't want to have to wait for the demo. I don't have to wait for all the rules to set up. So I'm just doing it manually overriding. But I'm not going to assign a person. I'm just going to assign it to on-call demo. I'm going to click the wrong one. Oh. Okay. Hi, Alan, because I'm signed in as Alan, or Alan is actually the user that's in the support group. I didn't show you the support group. It just has one user right now. I could add another one, but I just have one right now. Hi, Alan, a new high impact incident, or there's an incident I need. There's the URL. I want to go to that. I need to sign in. Alan Albrook. I need to go to the where did that go again? I'm not used to this. Nope, it's there, isn't it? Yeah, here we go. Okay, here's the incident. I want to set it to assigned. I want to assign it to me, Alan Albrook. I'm going to need to go to lunch. I don't want to see that. I thought I disabled that. Okay, so now I'm going to save it. And there's the notice, everybody in the group, and the thing was assigned, and it was assigned to Alan Albrook. So that's it. I could have built this. I didn't know how much time it was going to take me. Sometimes I demo it by building that process and showing what I'm doing building it, but I just had it pre-built. There's nothing more to it than that, unless you guys have any questions.
So would that show up in the notification log, or is that another step you have to add in, or to document that?
It's totally outside of that process.
Is it?
So I've got some other questions kind of outside of this. You got time for those?
Sure.
So two questions. One, I was meeting with DocuSign yesterday.
Okay.
And they've got an API. Have you guys looked at anything to have a widget, or the whatever you call the elements on the left-hand side associated with DocuSign and stuff inside of Innovation Studio?
Well, that's come up, but I don't have anything that's out of the box yet today. That's
Okay.
platform supplied.
Okay. How would we work towards getting something along those lines?
You could, submit an idea, for us to build it, or in the meantime, you could always build one yourself if you're willing to. If we go and build it later on, swap it out, which shouldn't be too much problem.
Okay. And then, well, that kind of leads to that other thing. So Mateo was showing a bunch of those elements being built out today. Do you guys have, how do those get, which of those get incorporated into what you call the base code versus, stuff that's our own custom elements like that? And is there, he kind of mentioned the community, is there a community where all that stuff's being uploaded? And
there is, but to be honest with you, there's not a whole lot. Most of the custom development objects or the coded stuff, custom coded stuff, is being done by either partners for their own business or by customers for their own use. I haven't seen a lot of stuff. Yeah, a lot of stuff yet. I'm hoping with this convergence and more availability of IS.
I think a lot more people would be doing that.
That's what, yeah. I'm hoping that there'll be a lot more.
Community at right now to start, as we are starting to.
It would be the Remedy community.
In the Remedy community stuff.
Used to be we had a separate developer community, but that's gone away, and now everything's under Remedy. Since we've converged everything, we're doing everything under Remedy.
Okay, so is there any way to flag it as an innovation studio versus?
Yeah, since we don't see them as different really anymore, we don't.
You have it separated?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can
put a
tell
tag
by,
on it.
yeah, I can tell by what's being asked, whether it's an AR system kind of question or whether it's a IS kind of
Is
question.
that the same with ideas? Because I haven't obviously submitted an idea for innovation. You're all taking the ideas under the remedy.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yep. But I think you also asked, if I heard you right, is when you build a custom coded component, where does that reside in the environment? That actually does reside in the overlay. So it doesn't, only BMC built stuff or stuff that BMC deploys in the environment resides at base layer. Stuff that customers build for themselves or developers build for themselves that they deploy in their own environments reside in the overlay layer, because you don't want to customize your own code, right?
Right.
So it should stay, the way we designed it is it stays in the overlay layer, because if you want to change it, you don't want to customize it, you actually want to change
it. Right.
So it's as if it's behaving as if it was you as a developer building something in base and your changes go into base. But in order for the environment to understand that you're the developer and you're building, or you're the owner of that environment, you're building your own code and you're deploying your own code, it resides in the overlay. So you can't overlay your own objects. You don't want to. So we don't let you.
Well, I think Mateo was kind of talking, I don't know if everybody else, but he was way over my head with what he's been doing and stuff here. It was really not, I told us the potential, but
yeah.
So some of that looked like there's file system related type stuff in there, and a containerizer, but I remember that being ephemeral. Does that still exist on the file system side, or is it more on a in the database layer so that it doesn't go away, kind of like you said? And then
we're because of containerization, we're moving away from storing anything in the file system, because it becomes troublesome to access. Yeah. So even the way our logging works, we're changing to containerized approach of logging.
But as far as these custom widgets and stuff that way, is there anything that you're dependent on the file system for those?
No.
All that gets stored in the database. That way. So most of the stuff that you're showing on the file system was more when he was building it in Maven and stuff that way. Package it up to bring it to you, or?
Oh, so you would build like on your local machine, and you would set up your
file system in there.
Yeah, you would set up your Maven to deploy to your environment. So you'd probably be building locally, compiling locally in an IDE on your local machine, and then deploying that into your environment somewhere, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud.
Yeah, so I kind of missed that part a little bit.
Yeah. So that command line stuff that you're seeing, all the Maven building, and if he was showing that, that would have been happening locally on his machine. And then Maven was configured to say, deploy that into this, the ID, the IP address and the login credentials and port and everything of the instance. In our case, his case is probably
there, then it just stays there in the overlay layer. Is what you're saying? It hangs out at the database level.
Yes.
But then it automatically shows up in the palette.
When you annotate it correctly, if it's an action that you want it to show up in a process, it will show up, and the annotations in your code will tell it what the attributes are, like the input variables and things like that, what it does, how it shows up.
You're giving us the capability to customize Innovation Studio's capabilities.
That's right.
Which is pretty powerful.
Yep.
So
is there any reason why you guys have looked at maybe putting a sandbox in your own instance, so you don't have to load the things on the laptop to get out of date, to get stress from?
Yes, we do. So today you can go to developers.bmc.com and get a developer sandbox. Both you can get an AWS instance that's in the it's in the cloud on AWS, or you can get a downloadable instance. Right now, those are older versions. We're working on a converged version of that, a 21.3. The challenge that we have right now is that when as part of convergence, we also went containerized, right? So the deployment mechanism for containerized platform is a whole bunch of containers. They need to be managed by Kubernetes, right? So my concern with that is that's a lot of overhead for a developer instance to be able to have to go through and set up containers, set up Kubernetes. Also, most developers are going to want to build on either a PC or a Mac. At the time when we started doing this, Kubernetes was not available on Windows. It's still not available on that. It's now available on Windows as of this year, but we haven't even tested running the full environment on a Windows-based machine. So what I'm trying to say is my requirement back to the team was for a developer sandbox, I want it to be as easy as the Innovation Studio only instance, where it was one container that was easy to deploy. You could set up Docker, run a script that installed the container in Docker, and off you go. Something reasonable enough for a developer to go and get a local sandbox up and running. So they're working on that now, but it's not ready yet. And I don't know exactly the date.
You say more some of the Java development tools and all that kind of stuff already set up.
Basically, I get a web browser, don't care what one it is, and I log in and I start using objects right away. I don't have to load anything, similar to another service.
Yeah. So we'll have both an AWS instance available for you to fire up, and we'll have a downloadable developer sandbox available.
But you already have Innovation Studio that you can do that with.
Yeah.
That's another question I need to ask.
Yeah.
Where does all this sit in reference to? So we're on a cloud version. Where does all this sit on our cloud version? So we don't use Smart IT yet. But
Yep.
I think the question is, do you have to put it on the gateway server since it's a cloud? Because you have to put Developer Studio on the gateway server.
No, Innovation
No.
Studio is in the cloud and available.
So you don't have to have it
So
on.
if you have an instance, it's there already.
Yeah.
You just start. You get the right URL and there you are.
Yep.
Now, Mateo did provide you the link on his PowerPoint that you can get the sandbox,
Yeah.
but he did say it was 20.
Yeah.
We have a couple of things on chat.
Okay.
Andrew said, I think the real power with this is that customers can define workflow without having to know AR development. And Mateo or Lauren responded saying, indeed, and it's also easy to follow at design time and even when it is executed.
Yeah, I mean, I am not showing it, but there's a whole process management console where I can see all the processes that have run. I can go in and I can see the gray highlights are executed. If that process wasn't complete, it would show me what step it's at in green. And I could go into each step and see what happened, whether it was successful. If it errored, it would tell me the error message. This is all successful. So I can see that it went through this path. It didn't go through the, this element. We're also building to be able to look at all the process log files per process. So you'll be able to drill into the process log file if it's errored and debug it that way, figure out what the problem was with the process if there was a problem from within this console.
So you guys are collecting a lot of stuff. Is this, how scalable is things starting to bog down when you start getting millions and millions of records, and where you've gotten to that point?
Well, it's not any different than an air system, right? This is all running on an air system.
Start to bog down, start getting millions of records and filters and stuff down.
If you write bad processes that are that are generating a lot of data, then yeah, it can get overloaded.
Well,
so you have to be good
at
at
collecting a lot of data here too, with logging and processing and all that's stored in the database.
It's stored in a separate server. So it's stored in a separate instance. It's stored in a reporting instance. So if I go back to this diagram, can you see that?
Not quite.
Small.
There's a separate reporting instance
You can see the
read
logs.
only, yeah,
can
read
see
only
the log.
reporting instance. So all the stuff that we're reporting is being stored in a separate instance so that it doesn't overload the production environment.
Inside of your consolidated database?
It's a separate database. It's a separate database for storing all the log information via the reporting API.
I haven't seen that in the deployment architecture.
This is the current 21.3 deployment architecture.
Right, that's,
Well, the right side says read only. So is
Yeah,
that the
that's-
back? Is that the backup
Yeah, that's what the reporting is logging into.
into the backup?
well, that's, are you talking the same one that the dashboard just? When you log in?
Yep.
Tech reporting?
Yep.
Well, but they were just telling us. So again, they were. No, I'm getting totally confused now. I'll have to look at your diagram closer, I guess.
Okay.
What are the three databases listed at the bottom?
What do you mean? What are they?
Yeah, you got three.
It says Platform Innovation Suite, Smart Reporting, and RSSO. RSSO is on the right.
I thought RSSO is up in the Postgres.
This is Postgres.
Yeah, that's Postgres.
It's all
slave.
Postgres within containers.
Yeah, the master on the left and the slave on the right. Is what it's showing. The Postgres.
That must be in your SaaS environment.
This is our SaaS deployment architecture.
The on-prem's not quite like that. And
I don't have a diagram for on-prem.
they're telling us on-prem won't support the replicated database, but you guys are already doing it in SaaS. That doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, that's a on-premise
That's question. Yeah.
Robin. I don't know the details of what they're trying to do for the on-prem.
I mean, if you, every process that runs, you store everything that happens. This is a lot of data.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm. Yeah.
So that's turning on all the log files in the vendor side. Grows tremendous rate. There should be some automatic, like delete everything after we create something like that. So that is process.
Or if the process is successful.
But my point is, it's doing it in an alternate database so that it's not bogging down the.
The numbers we pick up so it has to take off the old stuff to go away.
Well, for those on Zoom, it sounds like your question is saying that you're doing all these processes and logs and everything else, dumping it into this separate reporting server.
Mhm.
Eventually, it's going to get bogged down because of all these processes and log files. Is there a cleanup? Is that what you're asking? Is there a
Yeah.
cleanup to wipe out those logs after a certain time period, so it stays functional?
Yeah, we do have archiving capability that's set up. So I think it depends on the rules of the archiving that would handle that.
But the archiving side set up in Remedy, it's set up through Innovation Studio, right? I mean, where would you set up the archive?
It's set up in the platform, so it does both.
Okay.
What's that?
Historical data.
I'm just saying you can archive it. That's a way to clean it up. I don't know that we have an automated means to delete to clean up.
Okay, on chat, Mateo comes back and says you can disable the process logs,
Yep.
and there is a cleanup log rotation. For example, in production, it might not be useful to store all process details. So you can clean it up, but why? Customers want to keep the data. If you've worked at Visa before, they want all notifications from way back when. So they're going to keep everything, no matter what. So archiving would allow them to keep it to their heart's desire, but you're going to have to move it eventually.
You know just as well that those people that keep all of that data and don't archive or don't do something with it, we start to have performance issues.
That is correct.
if you're not doing something along those lines. Archive, delete archive, whatever, but even in the pro. My concern is more back to what Michi was saying, you know, if you're collecting that much data, then it seems like it'd be hard to keep it scalable over time as you start getting up into the millions of records and different things that way.
You just have to monitor.
Monitor and maintain and stuff.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, here none. Thank you.